I hear a lot of these all the time, Marty, and I'm sure you do too, that I don't need to do speed, agility, and quickness because it's only for your athletes, Wendy. These are only people that are your weekend warriors, people that really want to get out there and they want to do these competitive sports. Guys, that is false. Marty just said the reasons why. There's so many times. How many times do you have to cross the street and all of a sudden you're going to see like the person turn to a hand that starts blinking, and you may hear you only have a certain amount of time left to get across the street before the light turns green and it's unsafe. So what do? You have to speed up. You have to be able to step up onto the curb. You've got to be able to move in a quick fashion. So very big misconception right from the start. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Master Instructor Roundtable. If you like what you hear and want to download, follow, subscribe, even comment on any of our upcoming shows of what you want us to talk about, Dr. Marty Miller and myself, Wendy Batts, would love to be able to do a show that is going to benefit you because that's why we are here. So on today's episode, we are going to talk about speed, agility, and quickness and how it is not just for athletes. Marty, I know you and I both hear this all the time when we say, today we're going to do an SAQ day, and your clients are like, listen, I'm out. I don't need it. It's not for me. And we're going to make sure that by the end of this podcast, you have an answer to those questions and those people that tell you, I'm out.
No question. But here's the thing. You can look at it as everybody's an athlete, or I experienced this today. Jay spent the night and I stepped on some little sharp object at first thing in the morning today. And guess what I had to do? Speed, agility, quickness to get off that sharp little object and get my feet back underneath me. So you never know when it's going to show up.
I'm telling you, Marty, that means you're out of the loop. You know, I know how now to navigate around Legos like a rock star. And
remember, Jason's only here once in a while, so it's not a predetermined path of chaos like when it's your own kiddo.
Oh, for sure. Well, on today's episode, we are going to talk about why SAQ training benefits and belongs in the general population, especially when you're designing programs for everybody that walks through your door. We are definitely going to talk about what speed, agility, and quickness, what the differences are. I think sometimes people kind of get confused about that. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about definitely some misconceptions of why people believe that they shouldn't do it in their programming, or why some of the trainers are scared to program it in certain age populations or even specific goals. And then we're definitely going to talk about the benefits.
I like it. So when we look at this from an introduction standpoint, speed, agility, quickness training is sadly often viewed as athlete only, but it offers huge benefits for all clients. When you and I have talked about this indirectly in other things, whether we're talking about cognitive fitness, whether we're talking about the benefits of elevating heart rate, whether we're talking about, just getting people to move in space as it relates to real life. So there's going to be a ton of benefits. And again, what somebody at the highest end athlete level could look like may not look like what a 65, 70-year-old client might be as they're learning these patterns, but this is for everybody. There's no question about that. So a couple other key things here is when we look at improving movement efficiency, which is, again, I don't care how the speed they're going through, but if they're learning patterns, learning more complex patterns, shortening their reaction time, their coordination, this will enhance everyday function and injury prevention. And then we do need to integrate this in for every general fitness client.
So I think it's important that let's define the differences. So we often put it together, speed, agility, and quickness. There could be certain days where you work only on speed, certain days where you work really more on agility. And then if you put it all together, of course, we're working on how your body's going to react to different things fast. So when we talk about speed, we're talking about the ability to move quickly, ready for this, in a straight line. So we're looking at it from start to finish. How fast can you get from point A to point B? Then when we think about agility, we're looking at the different ways of changing directions. So think about when you play tennis or pickleball, or if you're having a soccer player get on there and you're trying to really work on getting the ball and turning and moving towards the goal, and then somebody's kicking the ball back. How do you adjust? How does your body adjust in time for those really quick and specific changes? And then, of course, when we're thinking about quickness, I mean, quickness is exactly just that. How fast can your body react and respond to the stimuli that's at hand? And I just think it's sometimes we talk about this stuff, but if you don't really understand the definition, then we're really just losing you from the start.
No question. You got to understand the basics before you just start programming it and not have a clue what you're doing. So why does this matter to the general population? Speed, agility, and quickness. And as you said, Wendy, there could be somebody that only works on one or two of these, but we're going to continue to talk to them as SAQ. So this enhances your functional fitness. Thinking of activities like playing with kids, as I mentioned, climbing stairs or avoiding a slip. And speed, I think, is the hardest one for people to grasp once they understand, okay, agility and quickness. But speed could be walking at 2 miles an hour on a treadmill and eventually walking at 3 miles an hour on a treadmill. That's a 50% increase in somebody's speed. Don't think that speed has to be top end running speed. And when you're going through this, this will improve that neuromuscular coordination, which supports better balance, reduce falls, especially in our older clientele, and then increases movement confidence and efficiency in daily tasks. We know a lot of studies show that when people start to feel that they can't walk with good gait and balance, they tend not to exercise at all. They become very, very sedentary, and then they age incredibly fast. So giving them that confidence that they can walk, that they can be out in public, will help them keep their overall fitness and longevity for sure. And then no question that this will boost metabolic rate by incorporating dynamic and multiplanar movement. So you get that side benefit as well.
So when we think about the misconceptions, I hear a lot of these all the time, Marty, and I'm sure you do too, that I don't need to do speed, agility, and quickness because it's only for your athletes, Wendy. These are only people that are your weekend warriors, people that really want to get out there and they want to do these competitive sports. Guys, that is false. Marty just said the reasons why. There's so many times. How many times do you have to cross the street and all of a sudden you're going to see like the person turn to a hand that starts blinking, and you may hear you only have a certain amount of time left to get across the street before the light turns green and it's unsafe. So what do you have to do? You have to speed up. You have to be able to step up onto the curb. You've got to be able to move in a quick fashion. So very big misconception right from the start. I hear this too. It's too risky. I work with seniors. I have sedentary clients. They can't move fast. If they move fast, it hurts their joints or they're winded. Well, what we're trying to do is increase your heart rate. We're trying to burn more calories. We're trying to get them to move faster than whatever their current pace is. I'm not, like you said, Marty, having someone that hasn't been in the gym, that doesn't do a lot of cardiovascular work, go out and say, okay, I want you to run a 50-yard dash as fast as you possibly can. I'm just saying, okay, you know what? This is the pace that you're comfortable with. Now we're going to just increase it a little bit faster. So now I want you to keep up with me. And then you're working with that client. You're being a part of their journey and showing them what just a little bit of an increase can do and the impact that it can have long term. Then again, SAQ requires specialized equipment or facilities. False. You can do this anywhere, everywhere. I have clients that I'll tell them to walk forward, and then as long as it's safe, I'll tell them to walk backwards. And do you know how many people find walking backwards very difficult? I do. And if you actually have someone run backwards and they're not used to doing that, Marty, we used to do this in our PES course. We would have people run forward and then run back, and they would fall. These are the trainers that were doing this. And it's just because they're not used to doing backpedaling. They're not used to moving in different directions unless they're visually able to see the finish line. So you can do things at home. You can do things in your yard. You can do things on the street. I have a big hill. My husband and I will walk up the hill forward and we walk down. Then we walk the hill backwards. People think we've lost our minds. But you know what? It's super hard to do. We're challenging our body a different way. And all we're doing is going outside and using what we have in nature. So it doesn't have to be anything. And if you are going to do something, like, you can't, if you're listening and you're not seeing it, there's an individual that has cones and they're tapping the cones. If you don't have cones, put cans of soup or cans of whatever you have in your pantry down, or use something that you have at home. It doesn't have to be anything specific. It's just something that if you're trying to tap something or have it as your start and finish line, you have two things to show you where to start and where to finish. And the biggest thing when you're thinking about reality of all of this, it can be adapted to all fitness levels. It can be with your kids. You can do things with your grandson that just learned how to walk, basically, Marty, all the way up to your professional athletes. It doesn't matter. Just the very beginning, keep it simple. Keep it simple and don't make it complicated. Have fun with it. And I'm telling you, especially your seniors, they're not used to doing fun things anymore. They're just used to sitting there. So if you get them up and do things in a speed ladder where they actually have to really cognitively think, but they're not moving fast, or you put them in a speed ladder where they have to pick up their feet, it's really hard, but it's also going to translate into activities of daily living. That is going to be something very beneficial. Love it. And little secret, check out the dollar store. Sometimes you can find cones there for $1. So just saying. Well, there you go. Yeah, see, it's eighth. You know what I mean? You don't need the expensive ones. But Wendy, before we move forward, I want everyone to know that this episode of the Master Instructor Roundtable is brought to you by NASM One, the membership for trainers and coaches. Members enjoy unlimited access to hundreds of career resources. Get the Edge app to schedule and program clients. Enjoy half off all certifications and specializations. Access free CEUs and more. All this just for $35 a month. Go to nasm.org/membership to learn more about NASM One. So, all right. So now we're going to go a little more in depth here, just a little bit to give you some ideas and the key benefits of speed, agility, quickness for all clients. They're going to improve reaction time, fast response to unexpected events. That's critical in the real world. Wendy, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's South Florida. It's in the summer. It's thundering and lightning out. Sometimes you just got to get up and go, right? There's a stimulus. I hear the thunder, got to go. So you'll also enhance your balance and proprioception. As we talked about, we want to decrease those risks of injuries and falls. Don't think about just for seniors. I've had a work-related fall before because I slipped on some grease. The ability to catch your body quickly. You know, you don't have to think about a 70 or an 80-year-old falling. Any one of us could have some type of stimulus that could allow us to be off balance and fall, and you want to be able to adapt to that. Definitely better cardiovascular fitness. It's that higher intensity, short burst. The research is showing how valuable that is. When you do this interval style speed, agility, quickness, will elevate the heart rate efficiently. People have fun, as you said, Wendy. And then also you're going to increase muscle power and endurance, which supports daily functional strength. You have to move quicker. You're going to get that power training in a very safe and effective manner. And there's huge benefits. And we've talked about this before. As you get older, you're going to lose power before you're going to lose strength, and you're going to lose that even before you lose your endurance. So that's why if you don't use it, you lose it. And our seniors definitely become more frail because they're not doing things that require them to move explosively within the limits that they can control. Well, and I also want to throw in there that if you guys are looking at even the template when you're designing some of the programs that NASM offers you in your textbook, it'll say that this is optional, and it is optional. But the thing is if you, especially if you have a weight loss client, this is something that you can do. Marty and I have done podcasts where we called it like adding in metabolic blasts. It doesn't have to be a pure section where it's only that. It can be sprinkled in throughout the program. And so if you're doing and you're designing a program and you did all of your core and activation work, and then you did your balance and your plyo. Again, plyo can be considered again, a way to increase your heart rate, but that's just your extended warm up. So if you're looking at your resistance portion and you're designing a program and it's a vertical load, meaning that it's one exercise from another to another to another, you could go chest, back, bis, tries, shoulders, legs, and then you could do some speed, agility, and quickness type exercise. Give a small amount of rest and then repeat and go back into your chest back, and then go on for as many sets as you want. It doesn't have to be something where it's just a section of a workout. And I hear that all the time. But if I bring out the speed ladder, I use the speed ladder. And you guys have probably seen some of these videos that we've done on NASM Fitness, where we've done different types of SAQ utilizing the speed ladder on your hands. So there's a lot of variation that you can do where you're using prime movers, you're increasing heart rate, you're doing different things, and you're working in all three planes of motion. It makes it challenging. It's different. It's hard, but don't feel that it just has to be one section, because if you sprinkle it in, you are going to be burning a ton of calories. And so for a weight loss client, it is definitely a win. Couldn't
agree more. So Wendy, do you want to talk about how to integrate this into the general population?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I kind of talked about the programming side of it, but just think about foundational movement skills first. Speed ladder drills, I love those because they're easy to teach, and then you can speed it up as someone is more coordinated, meaning that you can give them different types of patterning to do. Of course, there's different cone drills. So whether you're moving side to side in a shuffle type pattern, whether you're doing different karaoke patterns, whether you're, just moving even in the sagittal plane, you can add all three planes of motion. But I just think that a lot of times we make it so complicated in the beginning where the client has to overthink something when all we're trying to do is work on coordination movement patterns. So make sure that it is something that is progressive. So again, slow and controlled movements first, increase the speed, then add different decision making. And what we mean by that is you can throw a ball to left hand, right hand. They have to be able to touch a cone over here utilizing their left hand. We have, a lot of different partners that have provided us with some great equipment that we can use that have different lights where you can touch different lights and you're moving at different fast pace. So it's fun, it's different, but don't start with that first, because if they do it wrong, people get frustrated and then they don't want to do it at all. So think about what they're doing in real life. Again, crossing the street, having to run up onto a curb. These are things that you're going to want to maybe mimic within your programming, because it is something that's going to translate directly into what they would have to do. And the biggest thing is keep it short. Don't wind your clients so much where they feel like they're going to throw up, because that is not a win. And I tell clients that or trainers that all the time when they're like, I made my client throw up today. Well, if you're really proud of that, that's not helping someone on their fitness journey. Right? What we're trying to do is get them to move better, feel better, increase their heart rate. But we also want to make sure that they come back, because I know if I'm making clients throw up all the time, that isn't a win for me. So you want them to be like short bursts. You want them to be able to be successful at it. They're going to get a lot of maximum benefit if you don't crush them, as you will. So it's not about how hard you can push them. You want to push them as much as they can control. And then you're going to be able to see some progressions to maximize the outcome way better than if you just try to crush them from the start.
Yeah, great advice, Wendy. And I think the only thing I can add to that is a lot of people like to learn by seeing. So you need to train this yourself, because it's tell them what they're going to do, show them what they're going to do, right? Tell, show, then they do. You don't have to be dynamic. You don't have to be as explosive if you're training elite athletes, but you should be able to demonstrate the patterns, the skills, at least the bell-shaped curve of the majority of exercises you want somebody to do.
Correctly. You have to demonstrate it correctly.
Good point. Love it. So some sample SAQ drills could be, in this again, there's so much out there. High knee marches, focusing on form and rhythm. Then you have lateral step touch, which is going to build out things in the frontal plane, that lateral quickness. Cone taps, improve foot speed and coordination. Box or ladder drills. I have a speed ladder in my gym. I take it out once in a while. It's like $29.99. You don't need any crazy expense for that. Those are great drills, basic patterning, emphasize controlled movement. And then all you simply do is modify intensity based on the client and the fitness experience, adding volume, etc. And everybody could do this as part of their targeted warm-up or right after their targeted warm-up into their movement prep. So it doesn't have to be exhausting. It could just be what they do to get their central nervous system fired up after a targeted warm-up. Boom, then you go into the workout.
Indeed. So safety and coaching tips, this is always important. And I put this in every type of SAQ type of PowerPoint that I can, because you have to make sure that the individual is warmed up properly. This is going to be making sure that they foam rolled what they need to foam roll. If they need to do some static stretches before to increase range of motion, I always have someone do that. And then we will do some dynamic stretches. Yes, I did say static stretches into dynamic. Again, I want better range of motion for my dynamic stretching. And then we would go into mobility drills to make sure that we've got good movement patterns. And then we're going to emphasize the quality of the movement. And that is more important than the speed, especially from the start. If I want someone to be able to move laterally and I want their feet to be pointed more in the forward position, I want them to start there first, because if they're externally rotated in life and I'm trying to correct that, maybe I'm emphasizing that forward foot positioning and whatever it is that I'm doing. And then at that point, once they get the hang of it and they're moving better, we're going to increase the speed to that. Then, of course, we're going to progress gradually. We don't want someone to go from barely moving and not getting any kind of cardiovascular work or any kind of SAQ work, and then I'm having them go from that to 100%. Does not make sense. Make sure that you're cueing at all times. Posture is important. Foot placement's important. Technique is super important. What are you trying to accomplish? What can they physically do without compensation? And then do they understand the cueing that you're giving them? I think that's really important too. Sometimes with changing positions, instead of constantly screaming at them, I may have like a little whistle, or there's like a little sound that I'll make that they know to change directions. So it's better than me being like, move here, change here, because sometimes that becomes a lot for both myself as well as the client. Always give positive reinforcement. You want them to feel like, that is amazing. Go faster. Look how great you're moving. Look where you started last week and look where you are today. You're able to do amazing things. Or, look at you. And you said you couldn't do this. Or, little things like that. As soon as you make a big deal about something very small, it really does build the confidence and their ability to see like, wow, my trainer is super impressed with me or is super happy with me. Who doesn't like that? I know I do. Marty tells me all the time positive things to make me feel better. I try to do the same in return. You have to be positive all the time. But then the most important thing, especially if you are going to incorporate SAQ, is to take the time to properly cool down.
Yeah, no, Wendy, you nailed that. I really don't have anything I could add to that. Just again, common sense, progressions. You're not trying to punish people. You're trying to build confidence, build coordination, neuromuscular efficiency. And again, keep them in the sagittal plane first, then maybe add some frontal, then maybe add the transverse. Don't go to the hardest version right off the bat. So key takeaways: speed, agility, quickness. They're three distinct different things. They work nicely together. Wendy did a great job explaining that. It's an effective tool to improve that functional fitness, injury prevention, and client engagement for all populations. Kids love it too. I can tell you that much for sure. Mm-hmm. With proper progressions, SAQ can be fun and accessible to every population because they can walk through it if they have to. Integrate these drills for speed, agility, quickness thoughtfully into your programming, so that way you can enhance your clients' everyday performance.
Well done. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast, but if you have specific questions, always feel free to contact me at wendy.batts@nasm.org, or feel free to contact me on Instagram at wendy.batts13.
My info, dr.martymiller72 for Instagram, and then marty.miller@nasm.org. And as Wendy said at the very beginning, we're here for you. So make sure you subscribe, like, leave comments, download our episodes. We love that. Thank you for joining us on this episode, and we look forward to seeing you again on the next episode of the Master Instructor Roundtable.